Well, today we travelled down to Oxburgh Hall, which is a National Trust property, and one of the wonderful features they've got here at Oxburgh is the walled kitchen garden, which we're going to have a tour of this morning and have a look at see what they've got growing here. These coal frames were restored in 2015 and show what was originally here. Quite modern brick construction that they've used with a wooden frame system, which is partly glazed. Lost a few of the glass panels in this year. But it's nice with the ironwork that they've put in. These can be raised or lowered. Not much being used in these at the moment because we're going into autumn, but these will be much fuller later in the season and in early spring. This metal, quite modern glass house here, got a collection of succulents which are doing quite nicely. This has been whited out at some stage, try and reduce the heat in here, but you can feel the warmth even on a dull day like today. The main borders in this wall kitchen garden are looking spectacular. Really nicely kept. Clip box around the side and gravel pathways. And surrounding this garden are some really charming period outbuildings. Go and explore those in a little more detail. This little old one's got a selection of books inside. Got a chimney. Don't know whether these were potting sheds originally or used as accommodation, but they're all in very good nick. One of the features here at the hall are these lovely towers that they've built. Smaller versions we'll show you later on the main herbaceous plant and around the orchard. This part of the garden backs onto, I think, the old coaching houses and farmyard. Quite tall coach house there. Let's go and have a look inside the greenhouse, see what they've got growing in the plant house. This Victorian greenhouse was restored back in 2010. It's being well utilised. There's some brick-built staging on various levels. We have a lovely selection again of succulents and geraniums growing in here. It's obviously a working greenhouse. And on the back wall, it's been shelved out and they've got, again, more cacti, succulents. And there is a vine on the back there, but it looks as if that hasn't survived this season. Not a particularly old one, but there's no growth on that at all, which you would expect at this time of year. I love the brick floor that they've put in. So practical. There are a few beds around it. It's quite unusual, this glass house, in that you've got steps going down here to a lower level on the front. That really utilises the headroom far better. So the actual walkway is below the ground level outside. If I just pan out, it may give you an impression of that. But it does allow the front edge of this greenhouse to be a little over 4.5 feet, but still internally giving you the headroom. Well, there's a little bit of life on the vine just at the top there. Still some leaf just poking out. Maybe it's been cut severely back to let the light come in lower down. Let's have a look at the borders now. There's turnips planted here, which are being protected with these wire cloches to keep the birds and pigeons off. Lovely rows of leeks, mature beetroots. They're looking very good. Young leeks, beetroots and carrots in this bed. Okay. We've got a lovely bed here of heritage variety squashes, and you've got butternuts in here as well.
Butternut squashes are in the middle.
Yeah.
We've got shop from the supermarket. Pumpkins, little orange ones over there.
Yeah.
These ones are crown tints. These grey green, like from Ely Market. So those.
Let's have a look at those. They're quite unusual, aren't they?
They're good keepers. I'll keep till March.
What are they like when you cut into them? Are they orange?
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
They're really firm.
Firm orange flesh.
They don't go soggy.
Yeah, they've
quite
grown
nice.
well. And you said you've got
your
butternut
There's
squashes?
your butternuts.
Oh wow, they're good sized butternuts, aren't they? Yeah, they're lovely.
There's the green, but I can't, the label's gone. I did put a little label in that stick that has gone somewhere.
What's this one?
That's the green, these are the shop ones.
Oh, the tiny small
little
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've seen those on sale.
Yeah.
There's butternut in there
Yeah,
again. But what's this massive, great
Yeah,
big
I'll have to look it
variety
up
here?
because the label's gone out of the stick. Because I put them in the stick.
Right, is that again a heritage
That's
variety?
a heritage, Tomasetti.
Tomasetti. Is that the seed provider?
Yeah, Tomasetti seeds.
That's a fantastic border of squashes. Some lovely old varieties in here. A gorgeous old cloche here as well that's been used to get them going earlier in the season. We just found another couple of absolutely enormous great big ones.
I haven't got the stick, so
These
they're
have
gone.
been planted. I've just spoken to the gardener here and she says these are all planted on raised mounds when they plant them out as young plants.
2 foot deep.
Yeah. How do you prep the bed for these? Have they got manure in them the season before?
What we do, we dig 2 foot pits,
Yeah.
round pits, fill them full of manure, whatever, horse, pig or cow, whatever you like.
Yeah.
Mound them up on the dome.
Yeah.
Then put 2 plants on each.
2 in each?
Two on each.
How big's the mound that you're putting 2 plants into?
Well, when you look, the mound, well, that's sunk now. It's about that high off the ground.
Right.
So you dig your soil out, put one to one side.
Fill it with manure.
Then fill it with manure. then
Backfill
pig
with the
one
soil.
side.
Yeah.
If you think of your grandfather's lucky,
Yeah.
that's what we mimic.
Yeah, it does them good, doesn't it? Because I presume you've had quite a dry summer here, like we've had over the rest of Norfolk.
Yeah.
And these are still looking lush and in good growth, aren't they?
Because the COVID hit, there was only me and my husband here, so we couldn't water how we wanted to. But luckily, the rain came at the right time in between in the dry spell, so that just kept us
looking
ticking over.
fantastic. Your vegetable plots are really
we
a
had
credit to you.
We had rabbit issues as well, so we had to go around the estate and find whatever we could to fence everything off.
Okay.
To keep them under control.
The run of buildings on the back wall, what were they originally used for?
These are the potting sheds.
Just potting sheds, they weren't used for housing people?
No.
No?
If you can imagine, on the other side of this potting shed used to be a greenhouse, Victorian greenhouse with a melon pit in it.
Okay.
So they used to get access from the shed
straight into the melon house.
And also there used to be a step down, but that used to be the head garden. Part of it used to be, the middle section was the head gardener's office.
Yeah.
This end was where all the pots were kept, and then the
Okay.
tools were kept up this side. But at the moment, from that little window down there is now a bookshop. So all
I can
I've
see
got,
the books in there, so that's
the only space I've now got is this little bit here.
So you're squeezed into the end,
into the end.
old
So,
end bit. That's fascinating. Thank you.
that's it.
So that's a fascinating little bit of insider knowledge there for you on this wonderful walled garden. And we've got some gorgeous sunlight here. Just going to walk our way down, see what else we can find in these borders. Quite unusual to find big beefsteak tomatoes like this growing so well outside in England. Climate doesn't usually allow us to get away with this in the short growing season that we've got, but in the walled protection that they've got here in this sunny south plot, just look at the crop they've got coming on here. Absolutely fantastic outside grown bell peppers, all sorts of different types of tomatoes. Spanish mammoth, that one's labelled. And they're getting a really good ripening crop of tomatoes here beginning of September. Guess they'll get away without frosts affecting these in this walled garden for probably another month to 6 weeks if they're lucky. Just look at that, what a fantastic spot to be able to grow your vegetables in. I'm a real big fan of this little walled area. And it's got a few little bits of colour showing through in the back there with the dahlias and the sunflowers. Come down into the corner of this garden now and just looking back towards the orchard that we're going to explore with the heritage varieties of apple tree, and it's looking absolutely spectacular in this beautiful September sunlight. Let me just pan you back round this garden. And into this lovely planting of dahlias in the corner. Let's just have a look at some of these in more detail. That one's a cracker. I particularly like these type pom-poms. Beautiful, rich, deep colour in those. And these lovely white versions of the same. Looking really good. And the showstopper just tucked away in the back here. This cactus dahlia, yellow centres expanding out about 6 inches across that flower head to those pink tips. Absolutely gorgeous to see in this sunlight. And behind it, the sunflowers being allowed to run to seed will hopefully encourage further wildlife into this garden during this autumn. Beautiful.